Dear friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be diving into another fantastic room on the TryHackMe, which is Pyrat. And as you can see over here, this machine has a lot to do with Python. We'll be understanding Python code, but also we need to create our own Python program for different tasks. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. You're greatly appreciated. So now let's head over to local Linux in the VMware workstation, because attack box for me is a bit slow. Okay, so now we can head over to Linux VM. First of all, we need to identify open ports and services running on those ports. To save time of this video, I've already completed before, so now we can get out its result. Here, to make, after all, this is not, the target machine is not in the local network. It's far away. So to save time, I used the default option, just scan for default open ports, and then we can get to know the target machine has 2 open ports, 22. The service is SSH or secure shell service, and the second one is 8000. And also I conducted this more detailed scanning. With more options like version scan, default, script scan, and then we can get more detailed information about each service. So here, this is, the second open port is running some kinds of simple HTTP server. And the site doesn't have a title, blah, blah, blah. And, very weird, like HTTP options. So when the Nmap scanning engine sent the options, we'll get the response that options is not defined. Help is not defined as well. Get is not defined. A bit weird. We need to find out what's going on under the hood, okay, later. So I think it's quite clear what we are going to do next. We need to emulate the second open port or the web application, both manually and automatically. Let's fire up the browser to perform manual emulation first. And we can put the IP address of the target machine into the address bar. We can copy. So sorry, before we go ahead, I like to make notes. So the first open port 22, the service is SSH, and the second one is 8000 HTTP Python or Python simple HTTP server. Okay, so now let's go back to the browser, put the port number, why it's taking so long time. $8,000. To see what we can get. So maybe I like to check its availability first. Ping. It's not alive. Very weird. I think. And also I check my why it's not reachable. We can copy. I think it's correct. Maybe I need to restart my Linux. So see you later. All right, I'm back. I even respawn the target machine. So this time, the IP address is different. This doesn't matter. We can go back to Kali Linux VM to go ahead, and we can check its availability, it's reachable, and then we can bring back the browser to perform manual immersion first. Okay, and we can put the IP address of the target machine 8000. Press enter. Try a more basic collection. Interesting response. As usual, we need to check its source code. Nothing different comes back from the target machine. Next, we can try to access its robots file. But we still get the same response. Very weird, right? So it doesn't matter. We can launch Nicto to perform automatic immersion. It seems we can't get anything back from the Nicto. It doesn't matter. And next we can launch GoBuster to perform directory immersion. GoBuster directory extension option, and then GoBuster can start its directory immersion. Although we can get some kinds of error, and we can try to put this option, exclude lanes option. Anyhow, I'm not willing to wait anymore because we can't get anything back. Okay, so what can we do next? Here the response is try more basic collection. Let me use command line rather than browser to access the site or this website. Q. Press the port number. But we'll still get the same response as before. And we try to use different methods like a post, try a more basic collection. Very, very weird. So more basic collection. It means that maybe we can use the text-based tool to make communication with the target machine, such as netcat or telnet. Let me use netcat to connect to. And if we put hello, but we got the error, name hello is not defined. It looks like also we haven't seen the message from or the result from the Nmap. The target machine is running Python. So it looks like we got a response from the Python runtime. The hello is not defined. So how about we run valid Python statement? Okay, for example, like a print hello. So this time we can get this, statement executed without a problem. So what are we going to do next? We need to try to run reversal command to get initial foothold on the target machine. So up to this point, we have really got a very big diff and important discovery. And next, we need to find some kinds of, a Python statement for running reverse shell command. Okay, this is easy. We can use this resource and we can copy this command and put over here. We do not need to use the Python because here we are running, actual statement rather than command line. Okay, And also we need to replace this attack IP as our Kali Linux. And also I'd like to change port number to 555. You can choose any port number. We can copy and we can, but before we hit enter, we should set up the listener first on the Kali Linux, waiting for collection from the target machine. Okay, so we can press enter. Beautiful. As you can see, we have already got collection from the target machine, and we can, from here we can spawn an interactive shell by Python. So what's the version of a Python? Python 2 is not available. So how about Python 3? Python 3 is available, and then we can run pty bin bash. Okay, it's much better. And now we can go to, maybe also we can define the term variable. Then we can clear screen whenever to get a big space, right, on the window. So next, let's go to the home directory. The two normal users think permission denied. So how about Ubuntu? We do have permission, and SSH permission denied. And then let me, gather more information, or let me enumerate more information about the target machine. So what we are doing here is trying to find information as much as possible to find vectors, attack vector, or vectors which allow us to elevate privilege or make lateral movement. Okay, let's go to opt directory, dev directory. We find the Git repository. Let's go inside this Git directory. Maybe we can download or dump this Git repository from the target machine. And this is another very important technique, the Git immersion technique. We can use like git-hack, git-dumper, etc. But I don't know why in this case git-hack cannot work very properly. So instead we can use git-dumper, and you can go to the GitHub to get this tool, okay? A tool to dump Git repository from our website, okay? So now I've already made the clone from the GitHub. Let me use another tab. Yeah, this one, git-dumper. And how to use this tool. Install, and we need to specify URL and directory to store the dumped information. So we can make directory like git repo. Okay, and then let's run Python git dumper git, and then specify the URL of the target. We can copy from my notebook and followed by the port number. Oh, sorry. So this case, because hold on. Here we can, after all, this is not running on the 8000 or it's not running within the root directory of the website, right? So how to do? Let me set up the web server, but this time we need to use different port number because 8000 port number is occupied. Okay, so for example, like 66. Python 3. What's going on here? Oh, it should be right. Python 3 HTTP server. Really weird. Well, we just, of course, we can't use the 8000, which is default port number of Python 3 HTTP server module. Oh, press enter one more time. Yeah, it's working because of this ls. I type too fast. Okay, so now 66 and git and git repository. Press enter. So now it's dumping the repository from the target machine. And we need to look for something interesting. And let's go inside this directory. And we find this Pyrat old code. So shell get UID, switch case. So this is the reason why we can run like a print hello, right? So let me go to git subdirectory and we can config. And here we find the username think. Just now we have already found one of normal users is think. Even we can get its password. And also we can find the email address on the GitHub. We can copy, and I'd like to, maybe I can use SSH think. SSH collection is more stable, right? Yes. And then we can supply password for this user. It does work. It's much better. But before we play around here, let me check whether we can get more information from the Git repository. Okay. For example, we can use the Git log. I don't know. The logs. Here. So I think next we can use this email address and to look for, the repository of this guy, and you can get this source code. This source code is supporting the application of this room, right? So we need to understand what's going on here. So import socket and define some functions like handle client, switch case, and define executable Python, and get admin, and get define the shell, define send data, define the start server, define the remove socket function. But I think when we try to understand the source code, first of all, we need to get the primary workflow, right? So here, so multi-processing, the manager, the admin's manager list, and then define the host can running on any IP address on the machine, port number, and then start a server. So this is should be the main entry. Yeah, the main entry is start server, not start server. Yeah, here, and then we'll they just start the socket server, and then we'll get the collection from the client. And for each client, we'll pass to another function, handle client. Handle client. Which one? Yeah, this one. And then for each client, we'll receive data from the target machine. And we'll send the data. So is HTTP a data client fake HTTP? So what's HTTP? So this is try some message formatted data time. Okay, so maybe we can come back later. We need to find, maybe sometimes we need to find the vulnerability of this code, okay? But before we go there, I'd like to, go back to, which one? Yeah, this one. We can get the user flag without any problem, and then we can run like a sudo. Oh, we need to pass. We need to provide the password for this guy. No problem. And so next, I think we can upload Nmap's shell script to perform automatic immersion, right? TryHackMe. I've already got this script ready. So next we need to, upload this file to the target machine. In order to do that, we can set up a web server locally with the Python 3. And then we can use wget to upload. We can get the IP address of my machine and port number, Nmap's. Okay, it's done. Then we can make it executable. Then we can run it to see what we can get. So we are trying to gather information. Particularly vectors allow us to make lateral movement. Maybe here, we have already got the, the share of the think user. So now we are trying to elevate our privilege to root user, okay? And this script can gather information from various aspects, such as binaries with SUID bit, the binaries of capabilities. So let's scroll up to see what we can get. So the JIT, files with capabilities, but nothing special here. And also SUID bit, but not exciting here. Let's scroll up. To the hub files. Credentials, MySQL credentials. All users and groups. Active ports. So this one, this port is opened by us, right? For transferring file or Git repository. Cron job. processes information. We should pay more attention to those processes which belong to root user, right? Root. This one Python 3. But we can't do anything. And also this one Pyrat. But this one, of course, at this moment, we do not have permission to, to view this file. But a bit weird, this Pyrat can allow us to run Python statements. So this is the reason why we can get a reverse shell, right? Just this one. But why at that time, although we can get the reverse shell, but that shell belongs to www data, not root. However, this Python script is executed by root user. So maybe there will be a different logic. And, this different logic can allow us to get another shell which belongs to root user. Even we are playing with the same Python script. So let's go back to, this source code again. So here, if you look at this method, this function get_admin. So if the user ID is not equal 0, and then we'll start the fresh client. However, if we, for example, admin, maybe I can find. So if the data admin, and then we'll jump to this function. So if we submit admin, and then we will get something different. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so for example, we can connect to the target machine one more time with netcat, but this time for example, of course, also we can run like such print statement, but and also we can run like a reverse shell Python statement, and then we can get the shell or initial foothold. But that shell again not belong to root user. Okay, so how about we submit admin? Of course, this is not valid. This is not a valid Python statement. You can see start a fresh client to begin. Okay, for example, like admin again. We need to submit admin again. Then we can supply the password. If we can supply valid password, and then we can get the shell, and this shell belongs to the root user. Okay, and we can find its password. We can copy, but it's not correct. Probably this password has been updated. So I think our job next is to try to make brute forcing until we can find accurate password for the admin. If we can find it, and then we can get the shell which should belong to root user. Okay, right? Get user ID. So how to do? Let me use the Python to create our own program. So how to do? I have already opened up the editor of PyCharm, and we can, for example, new Python file, and we can like brute force, okay? And we can, of course, we need to import some modules. The major module we need to import is socket. Socket, a module. And the same, I think just the only module we need to import is this one. Also, maybe we can import this module. And next, we can define the some variable like target. Okay, define target IP. And we can copy from my notebook. And then target port number. This should be integer rather than string. And then we can, try to open word list like locq with open user share word lists locq and the mode is R or read. But also we need to use this option, otherwise we will get some kinds of exception. We can use encoding Latin 1. And the handler, you can use any name for this handler. Then we can make, for loop for line in read lines. Okay. And the password, we need to do some processing for each line. Read line. I think if line starts with hashtag, and then we can continue, okay? Otherwise, password should be, line strip. We can remove any space in the end. Then we can create the socket object, like a socket. You can use any name, right? Or maybe sock. AS is too simple. And socket, and socket, and socket address family, because we are using IPv4 address, and TCP is sock string. Okay. And then we can connect sock connect to connect, and we need to give a tuple, a target IP, and target port number. And then we need to send the username, but this time not username. We can, of course, normal user can run, if we cannot get the source code, normally we can we just think we can run like a Python statement, like a print, like like the, for example, like like for loop, any Python valid, any valid Python statement. But because we have already got its source code, and we know if we submit data, and this data is admin, and we can get something different back. Okay, so next we need to send sort. But we need to encode, right? Send. And how to do? Admin. But we need to put, to put the backslash in. This means new line, right? Hit enter, I think. And then we can wait for the collection from the sorry, not collection, waiting for the response from the target machine. Response should be sock receive, and we can define the buffer, and we can decode it. Okay. So if just now we have received, if we see the password, it means that we need to supply the password, right? So if password in response, but we need to make it lower characters, right? And then we can send a new, so we can try to, for example, attempting password. And we can use the formatted string. So the password, okay, and then we can sock send. Also, we need to use a byte. Or we can use, alternatively, we can use the encode. So the password encode. But also we need to put the new line in the end, right? And here we also need to wait for new response. You can use other name for this new response, like response sock receive. Okay, decode UTF-8 and then we can, if as you can see here, if we can see this message, it means our password is accurate in welcome in response. Welcome admin in response. Response lower. And then we can use the format string. Password is found. Okay. And then curly brace. Oh, what I'm doing here. Password. Otherwise, else. Incorrect password. And then we can close this socket. I think that's it. Maybe I can import time module because I want to introduce some kinds of delay. Time sleep, for example, like this one. If password in response. But also we can else print no password from received. Okay, so I think that's it. We can bring back the terminal window and run our program to see whether we can get accurate password for admin user. So attempting password. Incorrect password. Incorrect password. Oh, I think I need to, found. I think if we can find the password and we can break, we do not need to, we do not need to continue, right? So now, not if, is found successfully. Let me run this program one more time. Incorrect password 12345. Attempting password. As you know, Python is one of my favorite topics. I like it very much. It's so powerful. Even nowadays, AI, we can use Python for AI applications. So password is found successfully and the program is stopped. So now we can connect to the target machine over this port number one more time. And we need to use the mean as or data not username and ABC123. So welcome. And we can get the shell to begin. As you can see from the hashtag, we know we are root user. Beautiful. And then we can grab the final flag. So I think that's pretty much it. I'd like to see you next. Bye. Have a nice day, please.